So one really unique thing about reishi mushroom, a lot of mushrooms have these anti-cancer effects, these immunological effects. Reishi I like a lot for the anti-cancer effects. But a big thing too, what's cool about reishi mushroom is it has this anti-stress effect on the body. It acts as an adaptogen throughout the body. So what an adaptogen is, it helps us deal with the stress response effectively. What it does is it modulates our stress hormone release. So cortisol and epinephrine, it can adapt to that.
You're watching the Dr. Jake podcast.
Welcome back to the Integrative Medica podcast with Dr. Jake. I'm Teresa. I'm a mom. I'm a health nut. I'm a wife to a cancer thriver. And I'm here today with Dr. Jake to talk about reishi mushrooms, a really super powerful nutraceutical. Dr. Jake knows all about it. He just loves mushrooms, and I can't wait to hear all that he has to say. Dr. Jake, so good to be with you today.
Reishi mushroom is an amazing mushroom. It's probably one of my most prescribed mushrooms that I use, so it's going to be a lot of fun to talk about this today.
Yeah, and I remember when we first started seeing you, when Owen and I first found you through Google search. Dr. Jake is very good at, you can find him on Google very easily. And we went and saw you. Part of our initial plan that you had provided my husband with all the conditions that he was struggling with was reishi, and he, has continued to take that today. So I know that we have seen a lot of it, and I'm now learning that it's even good for more other conditions and other symptoms. It's just, It seems like an amazing, yes.
Yeah.
Who would have thought, you could say such positive things about a fungus. So looking forward to jumping in. I know our audience is eager too, especially as more and more people are learning about nutraceuticals, about mushrooms. And I just feel like the culture is really shifting from when I grew up, where it was like this rare thing for some, hippie mom might know about this kind of stuff. But now It seems like people are really opening their eyes to a lot of ways of looking at natural herbs, supplements, and so forth that can help them, and not, resorting to, I'm just getting older and that's it, or what drugs can I take to help me feel better? So let's jump into it. Obviously, the culture is fairly new to it. We're opening our eyes, but the mushroom has been around a lot longer than us. What is this reishi mushroom? How long have people been using it? Tell me all about it. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, so reishi mushrooms might be new to our culture, but it is a main staple in many Asian cultures, especially Chinese culture. It's been around for 2,000 years, being used as a medicine. It started out it was a little bit expensive for a lot of the Asians, especially the Chinese. So it started to be used more on the wealthier class, and started getting its prestige based on that. And then they started seeing all the health benefits they were seeing from reishi mushrooms. So it's been around a long time, been used a long time, and it's known as the longevity mushroom because of all the medicinal effects, all the effects it has on the body can improve how long you live.
Interesting. And, I think even with Chinese culture, there's a lot of stereotypes that, the Chinese, they look younger, they live longer, and so forth. So it makes perfect sense that reishi has been part of Chinese medicine, and just so thankful that we're now able to tap into that knowledge and bring it into integrative care as well. What were the Chinese using it for? And are we using it for the same things now, or has research expanded our knowledge on what other things we can use it for?
So there is nuances to it. Obviously, the Chinese were using it for thousands of years, so they started finding out what they needed it for. So obviously they were using this a lot to start with for infections because it's immune stimulating effect. They were using this for helping their brain chemistry, help them think better. They found that they felt more energetic when they were using this. This is just the traditional uses, and there's all kinds of other uses that we're using it for. When we dive into the research and actually start looking at the constituents in there and start studying it on specific health conditions, we have broadened our understanding of how reishi mushroom works and how we can use it for multiple medical conditions.
So what has the research now shown? What are some of these conditions that through, we started with traditional, and that's great. And then that opened up the doors to researching and finding like really why is it working? How does it work? And if it works with this, it uses this mechanism, and doctors are able to go, okay, well then it might be able to work for this other condition. And then the research just explodes. So what are some of the ways that integrative doctors and researchers are now seeing and using reishi mushrooms?
Yeah, so it has been used traditionally, but what we're using it a lot for now is for its anti-cancer effect or its immunological effect it has on the body. It was used traditionally and was used for a long time for patients dealing with cancer, but we're starting to understand the big effect it can have on killing cancer cells. One big thing it does is it improves all our immune system's function. So it helps increase our leukocytes, our neutrophils, our macrophages, our natural killer cells. These are all cells that we need to be able to fight off cancer cells. And big reason why we do get cancer is something happened to our immune system that suppressed our immune system or decreased its effectiveness, because we're always forming mutated cells all the time. I have mutated cells forming, but my immune system's able to attack those and eliminate those. So reishi mushroom helps improve that immunological function, so it's able to fight off these cancer cells more effectively. And it can do this if you actively have cancer. It will boost that immune system function and kill it. It has been shown in the research that it can help improve our immunological function when, let's say, patients are getting chemotherapy or radiation, which can suppress the immune system. So you can use this in unison with chemotherapy to help keep that immune system strong, which will help the chemotherapy work so much better and decrease the side effect profile, because a big side effects of chemotherapy is it suppresses the immune system. So now you're more prone to getting infections, or you're not able to heal effectively, or your cells are starting to destroy. And reishi can help improve that immunological function. We also are seeing that it helps inhibit a lot of different reactions of how the cancer cell grows and metastasizes throughout the body. One big function it does is it decreases the ability of the cancer cell to grow its blood vessels out. So it's not able to get its nutrients very well to be able to grow and expand.
So what I'm hearing so far, just based on where you're at, just sum up. One is it's preventive of cancer. So people who don't have cancer but want to improve their body's ability to just fight off the cancers that we're all facing and our immune systems are able to handle, but they want to improve that. Maybe they've got cancer in their family. Maybe they're just, wanting to just really take care of their bodies, right? Because we're just seeing cancer coming up more and more and more these days. And it's good for patients who have cancer to help actually fight the cancer. And it's good for those people who are using traditional methods to kill the cancer, such as chemotherapy, because it helps counteract the effects of the chemo to keep their immune system up, because that's part of the downside of chemotherapy. So we're seeing those three ways. And then the last one is really that it's actually it's preventing the cancer tumor from actually growing, and it grows through its blood vessels actually expanding out, and it somehow cuts off the circulation or the pathways that make it expand.
Yep, you got it.
Right.
Good job.
All right,
Good
so we got that summed up. So keep us going here.
All right, so we talk about how to boost the immune system. Obviously, if we boost the immune system, it's going to be really great for infections, right? So there's research showing it be great for flus. And also it's used a great deal in the Asian communities for people dealing with HIV and AIDS. Obviously, we know that HIV and AIDS suppresses the immune system, and that's why people get really sick and can die from infections when they have HIV. It's because the immune system gets suppressed. But we're seeing that reishi mushroom can boost that immunological function and help specifically for people dealing with these immunological conditions. So you can take reishi mushroom to help prevent you from getting sick. If there's a bug going around or you have it in your family, you can take it. Or it's flu season and you just want to try to prevent not getting sick, you can take reishi mushroom to boost that immunological function to be able to fight off the viruses or bacteria or fungus that are lingering around in our body.
Interesting.
So one really unique thing about reishi mushroom, a lot of mushrooms have these anti-cancer effects, these immunological effects. Reishi I like a lot for the anti-cancer effects. But a big thing too, what's cool about reishi mushroom is it has this anti-stress effect on the body. It acts as an adaptogen throughout the body. So what an adaptogen is, it helps us deal with the stress response effectively. What it does is it modulates our stress hormone release. So cortisol and epinephrine, it can adapt to that. So what does that mean? So it can modulate that. So let's say you are really stressed and you're pumping out tons of cortisol. It can suppress that cortisol function so you don't get all the detriments of that. Let's say you've been stressed for a really long time and now your body's like, hey, I'm not going to make cortisol anymore. I'm just going to deplete that. It can help elevate that cortisol production and give it that, because there's constituents in there that will increase cortisol and decrease cortisol, increase epinephrine and decrease epinephrine. So it's really cool in that way. Also, what's really great about it is it's shown in the research that it has been helping with people with anxiety and depression. One big reason for this is it's helping with that stress response, which is a big cause of people's anxiety and depression. Also, what researchers are theorizing is its antioxidant effect and anti-inflammatory effect it has on the brain. So a big cause of this imbalance of chemical imbalances, or maybe the cause isn't chemical imbalances, which is very common, it's just this inflammatory process going on in the brain. It can help decrease that inflammatory response, this oxidative stress that's happening in the brain, and help with depression and anxiety. So it's a really cool mushroom in that way, is it can really help us deal with mood disorders.
You bring up this interesting point about stress, and how it relates to obviously mood disorders, right? Like, it can connect to depression and anxiety. And stress also connects to cancer. And I remember reading somewhere, and clarify this if this is true or not, that when we're in a stressful state, that our immune system actually whatever biologically is happening in us when we're in a stressful state, that our immune system actually goes down, or it's not as strong. Is that true?
Yep, for sure.
So it makes sense then that this mushroom, it's helping your immune system build you up, plus with its anti-stress, or it's helping you adapt to stress better. That even that alone is going to help with your immune system, because your immune system is actually to continue on and doesn't get shut down. So it just seems like it's a double whammy effect. And then when you were talking about the inflammation, one of the things that I noticed with my own battle, with depression and so forth over the years, is that when I had inflammation in my gut, from having just gut issues that I had to work on healing, when I was healing the inflammation in the gut, I already saw a big difference in my own depression. And in my research that I was learning that serotonin is actually in your gut as well. And when your gut is inflamed, your gut can't make the serotonin that your brain needs in order for you to feel good. So this anti-inflammatory benefits that you're talking about and how it affects the brain, like it even is affecting the gut and how your gut's ability to make serotonin. And so that powerful gut-brain connection, it seems like that would be a really powerful way to balance that out too.
So let's dive into something maybe not related to this, but it's related to inflammation. So it's great for our cardiovascular system. So a big piece is, yes, we need to decrease inflammation throughout our entire body, because that's going to help how our cardiovascular system works. Also, that's going to decrease the stickiness around our blood vessels, which has the cholesterol go and grab itself onto there and form a plaque and lead to heart attack, stroke, etc. So decrease that inflammation. We've talked about that, and decrease inflammation in the brain. But also what's really cool about it is it helps with decreasing cholesterol, especially the bad cholesterol, LDL cholesterol, and also has shown to decrease total cholesterol. So it doesn't only decrease inflammation, it's decreasing the cholesterol. So it's going to help decrease the heart attack and stroke risk. So it's really cool in that way. Again, another reason why we call it the longevity hormone. It's helping with so many different things that usually are what ends our life early: cancer, cardiovascular disease, etc. Also, what's really cool about it is it decreases our blood pressure. Again, another thing that usually ends our lives early is high blood pressure, puts stress on our kidneys and our heart, maybe leads to too much pressure in our head, leading to an aneurysm. All these things can decrease with taking reishi mushroom. Also, it's also really great on stimulating liver function and improving our healing of the liver. So it's going to help with our detoxification mechanisms throughout our body. Again, another longevity aspect. Helps us eliminate the toxins that are coming into our body and eliminate that very well through our liver. So these are some of the awesome benefits that reishi has on our body. Also, like we talked about, cordyceps has a good effect on our blood sugar regulation. This will help with cardiovascular disease, because elevated blood sugar causes inflammation in blood vessel, leading into plaque formation. But also there's research showing that it decreases certain enzyme that make sugar inside our body. So it helps decrease our blood sugar in our body.
Well, and you know what, you had mentioned a couple seconds ago that this was something similar to cordyceps. For those of you who are listening and you're wanting to really geek out on like mushrooms and learning all about them, we did an episode we recorded one a few weeks back on cordyceps, and we plan to do more episodes on some of these other mushrooms as well. So be sure to check that episode out as well. And one of the things that I'm hearing you say is that you're mentioning the heart, you're mentioning blood pressure, you're mentioning sugar, and our ability to process sugar. So it seems to me like anybody with like a metabolic disorder might really benefit from this mushroom, because I know that metabolic disorders tend to affect those areas, right? Blood sugar, heart, those types of things. Awesome.
100%.
So what would you say then? Would you say that reishi mushroom, we know that it was good for preventative for cancer, but also if you had cancer. When we're talking about somebody who wants to just prevent heart issues, prevent sugar issues, and those types of things, is reishi mushroom good for preventing and if you actively have these health problems, or only good for one or the other?
Yes, I would prescribe it if you just want to prevent it, if you have it in your family, or you just want to decrease your cholesterol, great, decrease your blood pressure. But yeah, it's if you have active high cholesterol, or you've had a heart attack or whatever, reishi is a fantastic mushroom to take because of all the health benefits that we already talked about on the heart, the anti-inflammatory, the anti-cholesterol effect, the anti-sugar effect. All these things are going to increase your risk of another heart attack. So reishi mushroom is a great one to help if you do have that condition.
Now, do you have to change, how much you take? Like for preventative, you do like a low dosage, and then if you actively have a condition that you're trying to heal from, do you up the dosage, or is it the same for both?
So the research is showing that usually what we're taking is about 1 to 3 grams of reishi mushroom. There's some research going up to 9 grams of reishi mushroom. If I was doing more of a preventative, I would take about 1,000 milligrams per day reishi mushroom. If I was treating actively a certain medical condition, I would go up to 3, and I'd go even higher when I'm treating cancer. So we definitely change the dosages based on if we're actively treating a condition.
Now, are there any negative side effects, especially when you're really upping that dosage? Is there any negative side effects to look out for?
There's not a lot we're seeing here. Like we said, there is that decreased blood pressure effect. So you already have really low blood pressure. When you're taking reishi, just pay attention to that. Or let's say you're taking a blood pressure medication and then you start taking mushroom, your blood pressure might go a little low. So you need to modulate your blood pressure medication. But really, there's very little side effects in the research. Not really seeing a lot of mild effects because of all the great benefits that it's having throughout the body and just improving how the body functions. So we're not really seeing a lot of mild effects with it.
Now, when you're working with patients that have blood pressure issues, and I know you're an integrative doctor, so we talked about like as an integrative doctor, like you prescribe medicine, but you also work on healing and getting to the root cause. And so there's this nice balance with what you do. You recognize the benefits of prescriptions, but you don't want to rely on them if needed. Have you ever had patients that had heart issues, had blood pressure issues, and that you were able to help them get off their meds and use reishi or other things to help them with their blood pressure instead?
Definitely. It's very common. I'm able to get people off their blood pressure meds. It's probably 90% of the time my patients are able to get off their blood pressure meds if they actually stick to the protocol that I give them.
Right. And I think that's especially like the important part about this is it's not something that you want to be just messing around with on your own. To definitely, if you want to do something like that, if you're trying to get off your meds and you're wanting to go natural, like work with a doctor like Dr. Jake who can help you with that bridge, right? Because there is a healthy balance you want to be in when you're taking care of this, that you're not hurting yourself. So Dr. Jake, one of the things that, you love mushrooms. It's part of what you prescribe, and you've researched a ton of it. When you say the 1,000 milligrams, and 3,000 milligrams, what are the best methods for taking this? Are we taking it on an IV? Are we eating it in a salad? Like, what's your recommendation here?
Usually, this is in a raw powder form. Is usually how I recommend it. You could get it in a capsule, or you can put it on a salad. It tastes actually pretty good to put the powder just on a salad, gives it a little bit of that earthy flavor. You can put it in a drink, like my Terra Brew drink that I've created. It's a combination of several different mushrooms, and reishi is one of them. And putting it into hot water is a fantastic way to take it. And this absolutely helps leak out some of the nutrients even better than if you're just putting it on a salad or you're just putting it in a protein shake or whatever, or smoothie. Putting in the hot water helps infuse some of these constituents even better out. But it's good in all ways. Some form of a powder is usually how it's taken most readily. You can get a tincture of it. Just make sure you get it correctly, that it's actually done in an appropriate way to actually leak out the appropriate constituents so it's medicinally valid.
Yeah. So, just like, for our audience, just like sometimes you eat vegetables raw and you get a different benefit than if you eat the vegetables cooked and so forth. With mushrooms, by having it in water, there's elements in those mushrooms that just work better when water is really added to it. So that's where I love the Terra Brew drink that you've come up with, because I'm able to add water to it. So I know I'm getting more of those benefits, but also with the other ingredients that you put in there, other mushrooms that also have like added benefits. And we'll talk about those on other episodes, but also some of the flavor enhancers that they're all medicinal, but there's some that you've added that I think really make it a nice flavorful drink. So it doesn't feel like you're just drinking this, earthy, dirt, or tea or something like that. Like you've got cinnamon in it, you've got, some other flavor enhancers, chocolate, cacao in there. So it almost feels like I would describe it as like an earthy chocolate type of beverage. There's a part in the taste that I would say that satisfies that bitter need. For some people, if you like coffee, you might enjoy it, especially because it satisfies that same area of your taste buds that coffee does too. But you don't have the negative effects that coffee can bring, which is tapping on your adrenals and all of the negative effects that come along with that. So it's really powerful. We'll put a link in the show notes and in the description box if you're watching this on YouTube, so that you can get a chance to check it out too and get some of those benefits. For those of us who have cancer, who have heart issues, who have blood sugar issues, all, depression, anxiety, and we want to get support. We want to get healed. How can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, visit my website, integrativemedica.com. Find our phone number there. Give us a call. You can set up a virtual and in-person visit. You can set up a visit with me, or I have some other great, fantastic doctors that you can set up a visit with.
Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for listening. You can click on the show notes again for those details that Dr. Jake referenced today. And if this episode has helped you, please let us know by leaving a positive review if you're listening to this on a podcast, or liking and leaving a comment on YouTube. That would be wonderful. You can also follow Dr. Jake on Instagram at Dr. Jake Wellness. We'll see you all next week. Thank you so much, Dr. Jake, for being with us.
Hey, Dr. Jake, thank you for your time today. And if you enjoyed the show, then do us a favor and leave a review. It helps more people to find the show, which could save their life. And remember, this is a podcast and should not replace personalized attention from a medical professional like Dr. Jake. If you or someone you know has been diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder, cancer of any stage, or a life-changing illness, visit our website today and schedule a virtual appointment with one of our doctors who can lead you to a treatment plan in your area. That's integrativemedica.com. Integrative, MEDICA.com.
Thank you for listening to the Integrative Medica podcast with Dr. Jake. To hear past episodes and get alerts for the future, subscribe to us on your favorite podcasting platform and be sure to follow us on YouTube as well. Just search for Integrative Medica with Dr. Jake.